There's always developmental trauma. I haven't met one young person here who doesn't have some sort of developmental trauma. So that could be a number of adverse childhood experiences. There's always some sort of attachment wound that's happened at some point in these young people's lives. And the way that that plays out, I mean, there's so many different presentations, but often you find that these young people are remarkably resourceful in finding strategies to cope with traumatic incidents in their lives. That could be seen with a lot of anger and acting out, some acting in, so self-harm, suicide, suicidal ideation or suicide attempts. Just ways of being able to manage the pain that they've felt so far. We see a lot of low mood, depression, anxiety, substance abuse. So again, these kind of remarkable ways of adapting and coping with stress and trauma. So our job is to find kind of that attachment. So at what point that started to unravel for them and work at that point in their development, which is why we use a lot of more creative work, because asking a young person at what point were you most traumatised is probably going to traumatise them even more. But working at it through pieces of art or a piece of music or writing their own lyrics or a story told by someone else. Projective work, so putting their story out onto something else, enables them to then be able to re-ingest it and work through it. The way that Taskforces works is that some young people are pre-therapy, they're not, I don't believe in being ready to, they just don't want to start to dig up their most painful bits, quite understandably, but they'd really like someone to meet with and chat with and have that relationship with. So I would refer that young person to Steph, who's our youth worker, or Wayne, who's our family worker. So it's not a therapeutic intervention, but there's definitely therapeutic outcomes because it's about repairing that relationship. We have a really diverse team. For some young people, it's really important that the person sitting opposite them physically represents, culturally, where they come from. For some people, it's the worst thing to have someone who represents your auntie sitting opposite you. You just don't want that. All of those things have to be taken into consideration. But also understanding that rejection is part of the process. When young people have come across therapy before, perhaps, they haven't enjoyed it, or the first session hasn't gone so well, so they don't come, and then they're DNA'd, so that's that. Whereas we try and work with resistance and rejection as part of the therapy, so we're still here. We're still here. We're still sitting here waiting, holding your space open. And after 3 or 4 weeks, they start to come. And we're in a really privileged position, because I know in CAMS they can't do that because of the waiting list, but actually that's part of the work, to say no and then have someone say, but I'm still here.